Hello everyone and welcome to the very first episode of Fantastic Beasts and How to Save Them. I'm PJ with ZooFit, and with a name like ZooFit, you probably think my passions are fitness and conservation, and you would be absolutely right. But before ZooFit became even a tiny inkling in my mind, my passions were animals and the wizarding world of Harry Potter. Being a zookeeper for more than 15 years, there is not an animal that I didn't absolutely adore. I worked with marine animals, land animals, and even flying animals, and I have found through my love of the Harry Potter series that there is a connection between the two. I love bridging my absolute geeky passions for animals and Harry Potter and discovering that all of these animals are right there in front of us, hidden in disguise. So this series is going to unveil our favorite magical creatures, show them who they are in the real world, and also show how you can protect them for future generations of witches and wizards to come. Now for our first episode, I decided to delve into one of my favorite realms, and that would be the sea. So we're going to be talking today a little bit about the mer people. Now, growing up, I was a big fan of The Little Mermaid, and instead of dreaming of what it would be like to walk on land, I often dreamed about what it would be like to swim under the sea. So I was really enthralled when we met the mer people during book 4 when Harry encountered them during the Triwizard Tournament. Mer people are still classified as beasts, but that is from their own choice. In 1811, the Wizardgamot, the minister, Grogan Stump, did give mer people and centaurs the classification of beings, but both of them decided to keep their status as beasts. And mer people decided to stay classified as beasts mainly because they didn't want to be associated with the likes of hags and vampires. So they decided to stay classified as beasts, even though they definitely have their own culture. They're definitely very intelligent and can understand human language. Being a beast, they did need to find some sort of hidden form. Now, if they were living in an area that was magically protected, like the Black Lake at Hogwarts, they could stay within their form. But going into areas where muggles could detect them, they needed to change their form, stay hidden in a disguise that would not break the statute of secrecy and alert muggles of the existence of magical or fantastic beasts. Mer people are a very ancient race. They date back to ancient Greece, where they were called sirens. And you might be familiar with the legend of the sirens. Again, that's where they originated from. But we do know that mer people can be found pretty much worldwide, and they're known as many different names. In Scotland, they're known as Selkies, and in Ireland, they are known as Marrows. And of course, again, mostly worldwide, they're known as mer people or mermaids most commonly. So what animal would mer people choose to hide them when they're in areas where muggles can detect them? Well, to find out, we're going to take a look at a book called Latin Names Explained. It's a great big thick volume. It's one of my favorite books. I love looking at the etymology of animals. And we're going to go towards the back with the mammals area and look at a order called Sirenia. So the Sirenias are all the dugongs and the manatees, and these are marine animals. Most of them live in fresh or brackish water, but the dugong, or also known as the halicore, can be found in open sea. Now here's what's interesting. So you might be thinking, oh, well, already there's that link. Their order, their classification of all these animals are the Sirenia, which comes directly from the legend of the sirens. But halicore itself, the dugong, can be broken up into two Greek words, that is house and core, which means sea girl. Then you get into the North American species of manatee, the ones that we are most familiar with, the West Indian manatee. And manatee itself comes from the Caribbean or the Haiti word for women's breast, which again linking us to the idea of mermaids. Experts do believe that this animal is the origin for the legend of mer people. And that is probably because, again, and I'll read from the book, this may have come about because they have a habit of standing up in the water with their head and shoulders above the surface. So even before the mer people chose the manatees as their hidden form, sailors were mistaking manatees for mermaids in the first place. And again, a little cute creature. I think manatees are absolutely adorable. But I will admit, when you look at them side by side, mer people and manatees look nothing alike. However, the origin of the manatee, them standing up, was not the first time people have mistaken these animals for a mythological sea creature. When Columbus came and discovered America, he saw a manatee as well and described it in his journal as, "I saw a mermaid. They're not as beautiful as I thought they would be." So they don't look anything alike. And some people might be wondering, why on earth would mer people choose a form? They look nothing alike. Well, first and foremost, that's kind of the point of a hidden disguise. So look nothing like your disguise. They did a fabulous job of picking a great animal to represent and to hide their true form, keeping the existence of mer people a secret for generations. Now, I had the wonderful, wonderful opportunity to work with manatees, with mer people, while living in Florida from 2001 to 2007. And they were an amazing animal. I was part of a rescue and rehabilitation team to take in injured or orphan manatees, rehabilitate them, raise them, and then release them back into their natural environment. Very, very fulfilling. However, their numbers were very low back then. I was working with them in the early 2000s, and their numbers were between 1,500 and 2,500 living in Florida. Again, they were classified as endangered. Now, those numbers were very low, mainly due to human activity. The biggest reasons we actually had to rescue manatees were boat strikes and entanglement and fishing gear. So boats going a little bit too fast, hitting the manatees, so not noticing them in the water, hitting them can be very detrimental. So we got quite a few boat strikes in for rescue and for rehabilitation. And the other reason was for entanglement and fishing gear. So manatees are very curious animals, kind of like mer people. They would get entangled in crab traps and loose fishing line. And very often, in those instances, we would have to amputate their flippers. Their numbers were pretty low. However, their numbers have come up significantly in the last 15 years, and that is mainly due to the fact that people became more aware of ways to help and protect manatees and helping them by enforcing laws that would protect them. So it was illegal to harass, touch, feed, or even come close to manatees in their natural environment. That definitely helped. What also helped was stricter boating laws. So in manatee zones and in areas where manatees were known to frequent, they had what was known as a no-wake, meaning that the boats had to go so slow that they didn't even produce a wake behind their propeller. Also, stricter fishing laws also helped too. And the fact that having to discard your fishing gear in a proper way also helped protect manatees. Now their numbers are up. They're actually in Florida. Their numbers are thought to be about 6,500 now, which is much, much better. However, there are new threats to the manatees that we must consider as well. The main threats that they are now facing is the rise of the red algae blooms that have been pretty much devastating a lot of marine life the last few years. Now, red algae blooms can be a natural occurrence. They are a natural occurrence, but they can be very detrimental. They're a toxin, and they not only affect marine life, such as dolphins, fish, seabirds, sea turtles, and manatees, but it can affect humans. And in the last few years, last 4 or 5 years, beaches have had to be shut down from red algae blooms in their area. So this can have a huge, heavy hit to Florida's #1 industry, which is tourism. Now, what's causing these red algae blooms? Well, as I mentioned, they are mostly natural occurrences. However, the rise could be linked to human activity. Now, what I'm about to say is pretty controversial. However, I am using a lot of independent research to back me up. From Mises Institute and Fordham University, both of these have done independent research and have claimed that some of the blame might have to do with the agricultural industry of Florida. That would be the citrus groves, the meat industry, but #1 on their culprit list is the sugar industry. Now, Florida happens to be the number one producer of sugar for the United States, and their big conglomerate is U.S. Sugar. Now, not surprising, the government and U.S. Sugar, of course, is backing that they have nothing to do with the red algae blooms. But once again, independent researchers and environmentalists are saying that agriculture has a heavy influence from runoff, from pollution, and from fertilizer, and from non-sustainable practices that is polluting lakes, which are then draining out to the ocean, having a big impact on all ocean life, on the ocean itself, and on the red algae blooms. So as wonderful as mer people are, they do need our help. Now, 6,500 means that their numbers are rising, their numbers are getting better, but it would be a shame to lose these animals and have their numbers decline again. So what can we do to help save the mer people? Well, again, very simple act right now is just to learn more about mer people, at least their hidden form. And then again, this is the West Indian manatee, a wonderful species, a very gentle species, but it does need our help. If you want to do something a step further, you can get something out of it too. Again, cutting back your sugar intake, removing processed sugar from your diet can actually have a good impact in reducing the demand and then reducing the amount of pollution that is affecting the red algae blooms. You can also support organizations that also work to protect them. So institutions that may have manatees, such as aquariums, and even a couple zoos. The Columbus Zoo does have manatees on exhibit. Lowry Park Zoo in Tampa also has manatees as well. Visiting these institutions, supporting these institutions that protect, rescue, and preserve manatees is another wonderful way to help save the gentle, hidden form of the fierce mer people. Now, there is our very first episode of Fantastic Beasts and how to save them. We can go on this topic for absolute hours. But let me know what you think. Do you think that manatees are the hidden form of the mer people? Let me know in your comments down below. And also let me know what magical creature you'd like to see me delve into a little bit more. And it might get a chance to see how they connect to the real, non-magical world, and then learn a little bit more about how we can appreciate them and save them. Remember to live green and geek out in a healthy and positive way. Once again, I'll see you guys next time.